Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. We are live now, and I can see that 85 people have already joined in. So, good afternoon to everyone, and it is my pleasure to welcome all of you to the webinar on reinventing steel in the new normal. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you would all agree with me when I say that our world has changed irreversibly in the last few months. And all of us are now living in what is popularly called as the new normal. And this new normal has impacted all industries and actually forced all industries to review and rethink in the way they connect with their customers and also to overcome all the challenges arising out of this new normal. The Indian steel industry is no exception. But what is amazing about the Indian steel industry is that it has been through several such disruptions in the past, but has always managed to come out of such disruptions much more stronger than before by reinventing itself. And hence, there's a lot of interest and a lot of questions to understand what is Indian steel industry doing to reinvent itself in the current circumstances. And I'm very happy that we are having a discussion on this subject today. And I'm also grateful to the four speakers that we have here today, the eminent personalities from the steel industry, for having consented to speak to us on this subject, as well as share their perspective with all of us. With these words, I would like to hand over to Mr. Senthil Nathan, my colleague, who is Chief of Auctions Business as M Junction, to set the context for this discussion, introduce the speakers, and take forward the proceedings. So over to you, Senthil.
Thank you, sir. I'm also looking forward to a very engaging session with the esteemed panel which is gathered out here. At the outset, a very good afternoon and a warm welcome to all the panelists and participants of today's webinar. This webinar is part of the Unlock series which M Junction has been carrying out. Just a quick check, am I audible?
Senthil, you are audible to me, so please carry on.
Okay. Sorry, so in our today's Unlock Value series, we have a very interesting topic as said at the outset by Mr. Vinay Verma. So we're talking about reinventing steel sales under the new normal. We have over the last decade, seen how our shopping patterns have changed. We have been slowly shifting our purchases to the online mode. Initially, we started, buying books online, possibly then air tickets, train tickets online. Then we start buying mobile phones and, things like that. So our experience of shopping has changed and our expectation as consumers has also changed. So this expectation is carried by us, when we buy other goods and services for our organization as well. As many of you may be aware that M Junction in its own way during the last 2 decades has been trying to help companies make this digital transition of selling secondary steel online, and now is helping some of the steel companies to also sell prime steel online. Yes, we have made a beginning, but we know that a lot more action is expected in this space in the days ahead. All of us as industry participants are keen to know what is happening in the market. Today, it is my honor and privilege to present to you 4 senior leaders of the steel industry who in their very own way are trying to shape the industry for future. These experts will enlighten us as to how under the new normal there is a dire need to reinvent the way steel is sold. how the customer expectations are changing, and how the ongoing pandemic has impacted the overall process, and what the organizations need to look out for. So essentially, the objective of this webinar, as industry practitioners, we need to gain useful insight into what's happening, align our respective areas of work, and keep in line with the industry trends by listening to these discussions. Let me make a quick introduction about the panel. Let me start with Mr. MC Agrawal. Mr. MC Agrawal is the Executive Director, Sales and International Trade Division of Steel Authority of India Limited. He is also on the Board of Directors of M Junction Services Limited. Mr. Agrawal is a metallurgical engineer from Malviya Regional Engineering College, Jaipur. In his current role as Executive Director, Sales and International Trade Division, he is responsible for all the domestic and international sales at Steel Authority of India. In his past roles at SAIL, he has worked as ED Marketing, and he was also ED Corporate Affairs. He has been Sales Chief Spokesperson in his previous roles. Mr. Agrawal comes with a very rich industrial knowledge, and he is considered an expert on steel market and its dynamics. In terms of in his previous roles, he has worked in the northern and southern part of the country, and he has headed those regions as CGM and regional manager. So a very warm welcome to you, sir, to this discussion. Next, I move on to Mr. P. Anand. Mr. P. Anand is a mechanical engineer with a degree in management from XLRI. He is currently the business vertical head for services and solutions business at Tata Steel, which includes consumer durable products, Tata Pravesh, Steel and Style, Artifern brands, and construction solution under the Nestin business. In his previous role as head of marketing of various B2C and B2B brands in Tata Steel, and chief of marketing of branded products, retail solutions in Tata Steel, he was there for 3 years. And this role included all the branded sales of the steel division. He is also credited with incubating and rolling out the services and solutions business of Tata. Some of the products have out of his division which he has come out with have won awards like a Golden Peacock Award for Innovation, Shark Tank Award, and Blue Elephant Awards. These are for products which this division has churned out in last few years. Mr. Anand is also a lead assessor for TBEM, which is the Tata Business Excellence Model, and is also a qualified Baldrige examiner. And he is also a regular speaker at the various management schools like XLRI Jamshedpur, ISB Hyderabad, IIM Calcutta, and a regular participant at CII conclaves. He is also, recently been adjudged as the best CMO by the Marketing Masterminds Agency. Welcome to you, Mr. Anand. Next, I move on to Mr. Sridhar. Mr. Sridhar is from ArcelorMittal Nippon Steel. Mr. R.V. Sridhar is the Executive Director and CEO at ArcelorMittal Nippon Steel. In his current capacity, he manages one of ArcelorMittal and Nippon Steel's India's most significant downstream units, with production, sales, and operations, covering more than 3 million tons across 5 plants. In his earlier assignment as ED and CEO of SR Steel, pre-coated facility, he turned around the business from being a loss-making one to one of SR Steel's most profitable SBUs. Mr. Sridhar is also conferred as the Steel CEO of the year 2017 by Steel Users Federation of India. Mr. Sridhar was earlier associated with SR, and he has also worked at Tata Steel and SAIL in their international trading divisions. He holds a master's degree in international business from IIFT and is a physics postgraduate in quantum electronics, fiber optics, and communications. Welcome, Mr. Sridhar. I then move on to Mr. Akshay Gujral. He is also from ArcelorMittal Nippon Steel. He is Chief of Sales Steering there. He also looks after business development and distribution at ArcelorMittal Nippon Steel. He is responsible for managing pricing and volume distribution. He also heads the branding for ArcelorMittal Nippon Steel and have recently launched 3 new brands in terms of Stallion, Maximus, and Solgal, along with relaunching of existing brands. He also spearheads the digitalization for sales and marketing at AMNS. He also leads sales at Click for Steel. It's a steel platform, and responsible for product strategy and implementation. A warm welcome to all of you, sir. So can we go ahead with the discussion now? I start with Mr. MC Agarwal. Sir, I mean, we have seen the pandemic, has given some shocks to the economy, and we all know that the situation is, becoming gradually normal. Can you help us understand the overall market sentiment of steel market at the moment, and how do you think the demand pattern has changed post the pandemic? And also, how do you see the market demand, going up or change in the days ahead? Over to you, Mr. Agarwal.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Senthil, and thank you, Mr. Vinay Verma, for arranging this webinar and then giving me opportunity for speaking on this subject. As we all are aware, I think maybe I consider the participant also must be aware that today's everybody talks about steel industry. When we know the entire pandemic, all industries are facing some trouble here and there, but the steel industries, where I think particularly in the sense of market share, or maybe in the sense of production growth in all the units, everything I think is looking only a positive note. So now a question comes, why this positive note has come, and why this industry is flooding when everybody is suffering this pandemic and everybody is suffering how to live life even. So let me just take you certain figures for all of you for the interest. Maybe everybody must be aware, but to start the discussion, like if you see all India, in the Indian context, our crude steel production, if I say from April to October, it is down by 17%. But at the same time, everybody has the perception steel industry is growing. So, and even if you see consumption pattern also, if you compare with the last year, April to October, it is almost 25% down. So, and export has gone up by almost 45% and import has come down by 49%. So these are the certain data which can give you certain failures how this industry is moving. Fortunately, as far as international markets are concerned, the availability, production, if you see all worldwide production, if you see for January to say September period, which is data available, even October, there is a negative growth of almost 3.5%. But alone, China is only having the positive growth of around 5%. So, but at the same time, if you see the demand pattern, China has stabilized their demand pattern and the demand is increasing slightly. So as far as the availabilities are concerned, it has gone down for 2-3 reasons. One, as you say, that production has been reduced at all the locations, including India. Two, the raw materials has gone up, particularly in case we talk, that is a major iron ore which is required for all steel industry. The prices have gone up. Which was maybe last November, if we talk, it was somewhere around 98, 99 today dollars CFR China when we talk in the terms of prices. Today it is around 129. If we talk availability of scrap, in case Turkey generally is considered as the benchmark for this, it is almost touching of 340 now, 368 rather, and which used to be around 288 to 280 if you consider the last year. So there is a tremendous pressure on the cost wise. So definitely the market is looking the prices up because there's a cost pressures there. And particularly in case if my own analysis, maybe the same analysis must have been done by others also, maybe my perception, because scrap is generally on collection basis. And in pandemic time, because basically the collection was very poor, so scrap prices have gone up. And similarly, the availability of labor, in case you see from April onward, it has gone down like anything. Now it has started improving. So again, that whatever the labor productive units were there, that production has gone down. So this pandemic has given only one line to all of us: start looking for some automation, digitization, and use the e-platforms. So today, as we say, since it is a metal junction, now Mr. Senthil is from Metal Junction, and we are today discussing this subject. Now e-platform has become virtually a platform where you can sell everything. Nobody wants to go to each other. Rather, if I talk for the sale as Steel Authority of India Limited, and I am looking after entire domestic sale as well as international sale of sale. Now, in case my visits are much more than what I used to have last year, but everything is on e-platforms. It is all digitization. Video conferences like we have today. And this has really given a lot of connectivity. So if I talk for, as I was told, how the things are now, it is basically the connectivity has gone up. People are looking for ready-made solutions. And then e-platform digitization has become a talk of the town. And this is now major change which has given the pandemic to us, where everybody is suffering this pandemic. And now steel industry is flourishing because now we have changed our style of working. Rather, I'll take that, if I go by the topic itself, the steel sales, reinventing the steel sales. So this is now. Now, overall, in case we see the overall scenario which is going to come in the next few months' time, because in steel industry, with my experience of almost more than 30 years, and as now heading this entire sales of Steel Authority, I have come to know, because there's a long term, nobody can give you perspective of steel industry. But in case we talk for the short term perspective, that is say up to this financial year, up to March, we are not finding anything where the availability is going to improve anywhere, whether worldwide, whether it's a domestic. So the situations will remain. People who are working down the industries which is working, they will definitely continue to work. They will definitely go up. But then excess availability from anywhere, whether it's a suppliers, whether it's a buyers, whether it's a downstream consuming industry, is not going to be there. It's my perception. And this is what I think the markets are going up, and steel industry is flourishing in last few days. And this is my perception of the steel industry, which is going to be in next few months' time. So here I would like to also give a view, my view, particularly my view for the participant, which is looking at this webinar. Basically, where there is a degrowth in consumption, 25%. There is a degrowth of 25%. At the same time, your production has gone down by around 17% in India in case we talk. But then if you see overall this consumption, which is 25% minus, we are talking from April to October, where we see April, it was virtually washed out. May was virtually started was 10 to 20%. June, say around, in case my other colleagues from other industries can confirm it, it is around 60%. Only July onward, we were started looking for 70, 80%, now 100%. So in my opinion, this consumption negative will remain in the entire financial year also, but it will not be around, it should sustain somewhere around 15 to 16%, not be more than that. So definitely you can see now in next coming 5-6 days. So it has to surpass, first of all, last year consumption, plus it has to be extra, so that it comes down from minus 25% to at least to level of say 16-17% level. So definitely I'm looking at good growth in coming times. And as I already said, this pandemic has given a lot of reinventing to the steel selling patterns. And I think more of connectivity is there now. Nobody's interested to go and meet somebody, but he's looking at least come on the VC, we can chit chat. And you have your availability has gone up. Your time of traveling time has gone up. Of course, we cannot. I can tell you today, even public sector, I'm just taking a 1 minute out of the contest. In public sectors, generally we move the papers, and everything has to be approved by different levels. But today in my marketing setup, in case you see, out of 100 papers, we have made sure that not more than 1 or 2 papers, not more than 2% papers are only physically flowing. Everything is around net. And let me tell you, even Metal Junction also, we are using the e-platform. We have started now selling to B2C. We may go even B2B also on that. So basically, these are the things which has invented, and things have changed a lot from what used to be there before March and today what we are there. And with the change itself, the things are growing. So as Mr. Vinay Verma has already indicated in his opening remarks, irreversible. These changes are irreversible. These are not going to be changed. And I think people are going to live with these changes. And plus, maybe it may be reinvented further and things are going to be much better. So my suggestion for the entire industry and industry which is using steel and linked to the steel industry is that let us start working in the new norms, and this is going to be irreversible, and this will help us also, all of us, in working. This is what I just want to reply to your question, what you have given to me.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. I think typically what you're saying is that increased cost of operation and ease of connectivity, improvement in connectivity are the two key factors which are accelerating this, digital journey of companies. Thank you, sir. I see Mr. Sridhar possibly is having some issues, so we are trying to get him back online. So we move ahead. Let me go to Mr. Anand. Mr. Anand, I remember that you had headed the initiative at Tata Steel 4 to 5 years back, which enabled selling of rebars online. I mean, and I was also privileged to be part of it and leading the project from the M Junction side. Now this initiative has grown multifold and has taken shape as Ashiana, like saying, where the entire branded products are available to be bought online by customers. What are when you made this change from an offline to a more an omni-channel kind of a model, what were the customer expectations which were there, which you thought would be there when you went online? And what has been your experience, in this last 4 or 5 years, in terms of what are the key things which the customers look, when they're buying steel online? And and also a word of advice in terms of if organizations are looking to go this route, what should be, their key selling strategy, and what are the things which they increasingly need to look at for in their journey for digitization.
Thanks, Senthil. Am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible, Mr. Anand.
Yeah. So I'll start by into the memory lane. So if we were to look at the steel industry, I would bucket it into 2 or 3 buckets, and that. Hello. So it would come from a degree of every steel emancipation of the steel has happened. Crisis. So disruptions, innovations in the steel industry or so-called commodity industries have not been led so much, according to me, through bouts of innovation, through environmental reasons. Rather, it has happened through crisis. So when I go down the memory lane, you look at 2002, 2003, when Tata Steel embarked on its journey from commodities to brand, it was underpinned by 3 or 4 key aspects of customers' desire. One was to give authenticity to the product, because there was rampant product proliferations that were not authentic. There was spurious stuff. So the aspect of authentication of the product, and therefore the product branding, took shape. The second was on assurance of order generation and fulfillment. Here, I would like to talk about the channel assurance. The assurance that you have a channel, a dedicated channel. The shops were being set up by different industries in the steel and also in the cement.
I see Mr. Anand is locked off.
Yeah, so
should I we are trying to get him back.
Yeah, we'll try to get him back, but I think let's go ahead with Mr. Sridhar.
Yeah. Mr. Sridhar is also is having problems. I think I'll go to Mr. Akshay Gujral on the next question. Yeah, Mr. Gujral, all major companies, I mean, you had, digitization. I think Anand is back. Let me just hold on. Sorry, I mean, some technical issues possibly is facing. Okay. Mr. Anand, are you able to hear us?
I'm also back, Mr. Senthil.
Maybe we'll come back, and then catch his thoughts on the subject. Let me proceed. Let me go to Mr. Akshay Gujral. Mr. Gujral, like, I mentioned in your introduction, you head the digitization strategy and have very wide experience in international markets, developing and implementing these strategies. All major companies had some kind of, digital strategy even before COVID, but we are increasingly seeing, post-COVID, there seems to be a greater need, and companies are hurrying about, implementing these plans. Is this, only a knee-jerk reaction to the, COVID situation that, we have to equip ourselves and, be ready for the market? Or are you seeing a more permanent change in terms of how the way companies are looking at digital as a medium of operation? Your thoughts, sir?
Thank you, Senthil, for this question. Excellent question. I was actually, the COVID it's not a knee-jerk reaction. First of all, I will say the digital strategy, as my other colleagues have said on this panel, is an irreversible journey. I look at it, I say that it's a one-way journey. So your digital is one-way journey. Once you start, there is no stopping. And just to put up an analogy, in 1815 there was a volcanic eruption in Indonesia called Mount Tambora, and what this did was this flew all the ash in the sky. As a result, clocked the entire skies for a year, and no sunlight came. And in 1816 it is called the year without the summer. As a result, there was crop failure, no more crops, no more food. And what it led to was the invention of the bicycle. So what is the correlation? The correlation is, with no crop, with no food, you did not have enough feedstock to feed the horses. So no more horse carriages. So necessity is the mother of all inventions. So this COVID is our Tambora event, as I look at it this way. So what has happened in COVID is you have not been able to go and meet the customer. So you have expedited all the digital initiatives. It's not a knee-jerk reaction, but definitely it has accelerated all the initiatives that the companies were looking at. Whether this will last COVID, I think it is, as I said, it's a one-way journey. Whatever you do to improve your cost, to increase your efficiency, to increase your reach to the customers, these are all irreversible paths. Once you get used to a lower cost efficiency or lower cost to reach out to a customer, you never come back to a higher cost regime. So your digital is not only providing you a nationwide reach or an international reach, it is also providing you a more efficient way to work with the customers. At some places, it is the survival for a company to be digital. So between selling and not selling, it is digital. So some companies have perished because they had no idea of the digital. Digital, again, as I say, one of the key areas of digital is sales, but there are a lot of other key ideas within digital. So your order tracking, your entire documentation being paperless, your entire efficiency of meetings, being on the virtual. So today, my sales team can meet 8 to 10 customers a day because they don't have to travel to location rather than being physically on the road. So there have been a lot of benefits that the companies have seen that is coming across with this digital strategy, and the digital strategy will keep encompassing more and more areas. So today, for example, there is also the speed of implementation or the speed of acceptance of digital technology also is underlining the inefficiency in the physical world. So more the inefficiency in the physical world, the faster adoption of the digital strategy. So a customer, if he has to call 3 times to know where his order is, he will immediately progress to a digital world where he just needs to go in, log in, and simply see where his order status is. How many of us have gone to a bank in the last 6 months? The answer lies here. Banking industry was never considered safe for digitalization 10 or 15 years back. But today, I think most of us do our banking digitally. We hardly go to a branch to meet a customer, to meet our branch manager, or to deposit a check or to transfer funds. So what has happened into the banking industry or some of the service industries is bound to happen out here. We are actually reaching the multiplication levels of digital, and this will shortly go into the exponential level. So what I mean by that is, slowly we have seen the mass effect coming in. So we are already seeing on the forward auctions a lot of traction for the sales. So these are the set of customers who are very happy to come on a platform like yours, Metal Junction, or a platform like ours, Click for Steel. We sell close to 500,000 tons on Click for Steel today. So people who are adopting this technology, they are happy to do a forward auction. I do not see a reason why they would not adapt to a platform where everything becomes much more easy. The inefficiencies of a physical sales are out. There is clarity of allocation. There is clarity of pricing. There is clarity of dates. As long as we have a clear implementation in terms of a policy or a solution, I see customers would be more and more coming up to this technology, and this would only go forward with more and more additions in terms of the digital strategy of an organization. It depends on what you are looking at as an organization from the digital world, and then looking at what it brings to the customer and what it brings to you. So your digital strategy has to be very clear in terms of customer centricity. Otherwise, if the customer doesn't find value, you may have the best systems, the best tools, it will not be adapted. So the adoption would depend upon how you see. There is a very nice term which I sometimes coin and see future back. How do you see 5 years down the line the customer's behavior? How will he be buying? And how did you translate it to today and put the path to reach there in the next 3 to 5 years? So if you have it clear, if you have the efficiencies clear, if you have your digital mindset clear, I think these are all technologies. These are all behavioral changes that are one way. Once you get used to it, you do not go away from it. You do not run away from it. So these are all habitual, and I definitely think that we are right now quite well geared to go into the exponential growth phase on the digital.
Thank you, sir. I think some great thoughts. More the inefficiency of organizations, the faster the digital option if they are to survive in the market. Customer centricity, should be the center of digitization strategy. If there has to be customer value in your digitization journey, and also your thought on how do you do a future back. I mean, that's a nice word in terms of how do you plan your journey, digital journey, and how do you take steps towards achieving what you foresee as the ultimate customer delight 5 years hence. Thanks, sir. I think our other two panelists are back. Anand, you were in middle of your discussion when you logged off. If you would like to complete this, I mean, you were talking about the customer needs in a digital world and how people saw a commodity being converted into a branded product, and that's when possibly we lost you. If you could kindly continue, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Senthil. And I was talking about disruption, and it hit me as I was talking. So as was that we were at 2000 to 2003, the whole fundamental premise of commodities to brands in all kinds of industries, commodity industries, was underpinned what I had said about product authenticity, about assured order generation and fulfillment, and about the potentiality of adding services to the products that you were selling. So we also went into it. We have some brands called Tata Tisman, Tata Shakti, Tata, very fundamentally embedded brands now, which went into this journey. But as we acquired market share and as we acquired the propensity of branded premium, the enablement of service as convenience started taking shape and enabling us to give the assurance of additive value propositions. And that is the time when we structured our thinking. See, largely, if you look at commodities even now, the order generation fulfillment processes are singular. You generate the order at a physical entity, you fulfill that order distributor, it could be your stockyard, and it could be your B2B customer interactions that you do from company to company level. But slowly, when you have this mindset of bifurcating the order generation and fulfillment, the opportunities in commodities like steel opens up tremendously. So we did that in around 2014, 2015. And what it happens is that when you have a singular order generation point, then everything is centered around the physical distribution and retailing network. So you are limited by reach. Your brand building happens around the territorial confines of the consumption centers. And your services are also underpinned by what you can do around the dealer network or distributor network. And we used to say a program called Retail Value Management in 2003. And we used to say that we could reach Tata Steel 5 kilometers away. So that was a grandiose kind of value set to the customers, that you are only 5 kilometers away from a Tata Steel outlet. However, once you bifurcate this order generation and fulfillment, which becomes fungible, you can actually reach at a very low optimized cost. And according to me, your entire order generation fulfillment part of the order part becomes quite optimized on cost, also on delivered cost. We did sometime back in 2007, 2009, the TOC, the theory of constraints replenishment model. Network who was having 45 days of stock at Tiscon channel is now currently having 5 days of stocks. So that means 9 times you have improved his return on capital. So there is a potentiality of doing a delivered cost that is far more optimized, and then you are reaching out to the customer in a different way. So what did we do? We then went to the e-commerce route, and it was fits and starts. I remember even when I was talking about Ashiana in 2007, Senthil, you will know, we did something called straightline.com, and we wanted to sell Tata Tubes, and I was in the tubes. I was the head marketing of tubes. We failed miserably because at that point of time, there were credit cards was hardly a rich man's desire, and you couldn't reach, and the point of sales and the point of gateways, payment gateways was not established. But the same thing when we started doing in 2015, there was a traction. We built what first was the dealers. Then slowly it emancipated into what we call the Ashiana platform now. So the Ashiana became a digital platform now, and slowly it transformed into what we call a dream, click away, and then build. So to the construction space, any platform transforming the home building journey of a individual house builder. So in Ashiana, as Senthil has rightly said, it is an home panel. It provides a home building experience. It provides inspirational designs. It gives you design consultancy. And more importantly, it offers you a Chinese menu. Till so far, we were giving a Gujarati thali to a customer. You buy a product, you get a whole host of services, potentially free, which was extended through the brand premium. But now you can actually plug and play the services that you desire. So the convenience has also become granularized to the singular network of customer as a single person. That is the fundamental difference. What we do not realize when you have a digital-based retail channel to the customer. We promise 72-hour deliveries and a whole host of consumer segments, service collateral started gaining ground around Ashiana. Today, I'm happy to tell you that Ashiana is a 400 brand. We have more than 11,000 unique customers have done in FY20. More than 1.4 million visitors have seen. So this is the other aspect of e-portal. You don't necessarily have to transact. More than 1.4 million customers, that is 20% of the entire individual house building population of India, have done their problem research through Ashiana. They may have brought through the physical channel, they may have brought through other manufacturers, and they may have brought other products, but have actually done their problem solving at the Ashiana portal. And therefore, what we got is a 28% increase in reach. A place where I could not reach through my physical distribution channel, 20% through a pin code bill, I could increase my reach. 20% of my order got generated beyond the working hours of the dealers. So in the evenings, in the nights, and those are the times when the order generation took place. So we spoke about bouquet of services. And when I speak about the bouquet of services, one also has to realize service as a monetization tool was never available to us. Now I charge a premium or I charge a service plus to the services I give. If I give a supervisory service through my customer service executive, I charge a premium over it. So it is not anymore a cost additive lever for brand. It has become a profit center by itself, the monetization of services. And lastly, before I end, I think the other advantage of such platforms like Ashiana and other such platforms is the ability to cross-sell and upsell. We have, so if you look at this journey not as a journey of selling a product, but by selling through a pipe, a platform-based architect of an organization, then you can walk through the customer decision journey not only from the beginning, which is the rebar for us when a customer builds a house, and you can now transcend into service and solutions. We have a Tata Pravesh doors, we have a Hearty Fund storage systems. So the wallet share of the customer also manifests its revenue model for the organization. That is a very valuable added benefit that platforms like these order generation points gives. So we look at the business from an organizational perspective, a customer-centric organization. Now, previously there was a Tiscon brand manager. I was the CMO for all the brands, but then now we have a the organization centered around the customer decision journey. Which points of the decision journey that the customer moves? So there is a home building journey, there's a home journey, then there is a referral journey, services journey, and the platform, the organization is built around this in terms of the capabilities of the customer rather than the capabilities of the ability to produce and generate a fulfillment center. So that is the other aspect, that you have become brand agnostic now, you have become customer centric more. So these are the few elements that I can think about which has actually enabled us to do a 2x, 3x growth in revenue. But more importantly, it has opened up avenues for businesses that are far greater than the product we used to sell. So that's in a brief that I wanted to.
Thank you. I think, Anand, I think you had given a complete picture in terms of how from a commodity you have transformed yourselves into a services company where a customer can dream, click, and build. And thanks for the complete insight you gave in terms of how supply chain efficiency has gone up because of digitization, how your reach has gone up, how customer convenience has gone up because of your digital journey, and also how this has helped you in terms of more revenue generating options in terms of cross sell and upsell to these set of customers. A very interesting and very detailed description in terms of your thoughts. Thank you so much. I will now move on to Mr. Sridhar. Mr. Sridhar, are you able to hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah. Sorry, sir. We lost you in between. So my question to you is in terms of, based on your experience, so we talked about, Mr. Agrawala talked about the demand, Mr. Anand talked about in terms of the digital strategy, in terms of how, as a marketeer, he has transformed from a commodity to a service and solutions. And Mr. Akshay Gujral talked about digitization as a key strategy. Sir, we, in order to get an overall sense in terms of what's happening, can you talk about in terms of how customer preferences have changed, in terms of what product innovations are happening in the steel product and steel usage itself, and how companies are trying hard with each other to come up with more unique usages and product development so that they keep themselves ahead in terms of the competition?
Okay, fine. Good afternoon. Thanks for inviting me on this. Let me start with V.S. Naipaul. He is a Nobel laureate in literature. He has written a book, India, a Wounded Civilization, in which he talks in 1975 that it's a country where open defecation happens everywhere. But however, thanks to the current government, from 2019 till now, in last 1.5 years, 111 million toilets have been constructed all over the country. And we as a company have been at the forefront in supplying color-coated steel for toilet blocks all across the country. And it's a matter of pride, whether it be in Assam, whether it be in South, Tamil Nadu, etc. Our material has been used for this particular purpose, very low bro, but however very versatile end use, and this has helped prevent open defecation to a large extent in the country. So this is one interesting end use which we have catered to. The second point is, as the Chinese letter or character for problem, if you invert it, it's an opportunity. Many of us have been cursing this COVID. April month has been a washout. However, we recovered from May onwards. But having said that, can we do something unique for this sort of situation currently? For example, clean rooms. Hyderabad is one area, one city, which is a hub of all these clean rooms and cold rooms, etc. And there are many customers whom we have hitherto not exploited before, but now we are doing it. So this is one interesting end use. And then again, we have launched as AMN, as antibacterial and antiviral will be launched, very shortly. So these are some of the end users, not only for the country, but also abroad. We have been exporting to, I remember where we got a letter of appreciation from COVID hospital in Qatar. So these are some of the uses which are new to this current context. And in one of our plants, we do produce tubes as well, hot rolled tubes, cold rolled tubes, and galvanized. There is one interesting application, for example, galvanized tubes for hospital beds. This is a new opportunity. So uncovering new opportunities, either by our own accord or because of the current situation where we are in, is one of the unique features which is presenting itself to us. Then again, as a marketing innovation, we are selling color-coated steel, which is having a market share in color-coated pre-painted galvanized about 55 to 60% in the country. We are one of the largest suppliers. Say about 6 years back, before I became the CEO of this unit, the Chinese imports were in such a big way that, and their prices were about 15 to 17,000 rupees lower than us in terms of color coating dumping. And thereafter, the Modi government brought in 2016 what you call as a minimum import price and all that. But before that, the Chinese were, bombarding the Indian market with a cheap color coated, and in a way, thanks to them also, they have started popularizing this color coated in a big way. Right now, we have a CAGR in the color coated segment of about 15%, 12 to 15%, depending on which literature you look into. But having said that, we invented something new. The difference between galvanized and color coated was about 25,000 rupees per ton or so. Now, this is a huge spread. Many in the Indian market may not be able to absorb this. And I'm inspired by Tata Motors. They have brought in a concept called Tata Ace. That is between an auto carrying goods and between a 16-tonner trucker, there was an institutional void, market emptiness. There was nothing in between. Now they came up, this term is called institutional void, coined by Krishna Palupu and Vijay Govindarajan of Tuck University. Now there is something called institutional void, where nobody occupies the market space. So we wanted to exploit that just in the same way that Tata Motors came up with a Tata Ace 1-tonner truck or a 2-tonner truck. Recently, they come up with a 2-tonner truck. So we came up with a low-cost PPGI, more so for the rural market, exploiting this institutional void. So these are some of the things which we do to unravel certain key marketing, growth spots, which hitherto were not available. One more important point, we have, as I mentioned earlier, we have a market share between 55 to 60%. And how did this come about? This has come about because of a speed of delivery. We have a standardized model wherein, let's say, the number of colors which are available in the market, we have tried to standardize it. Let's say we had a color change of 9.2 colors per 1,000 tons of production. We brought it down to 2.7 color changes per 1,000 tons. So in a way, this is standardizing the colors. And as such, we are able to serve the customers quickly because we have reduced the color changes and all that. And our lead time from the time an order is placed on us for the coated products is between 5 to 7 days, which is one of the lowest in the country. So these are some of the methods or innovations, both in marketing or also in product. And again, one more point. Today morning, you must have seen the cost of solar has dipped down to 2.05 rupees per unit. Now, this solar, by 2022, we are likely to put in about 175 gigawatts of renewable power and all that, out of which 50 gigawatts would be solar power itself. Now, if solar power comes down, the price becomes so much affordable. And this is a big initiative for growth of steel, more so coated steel, especially the high zinc coatings of 600 or 700 GSM and all that. And we are one of the companies which manufactures such heavy duty coatings and all that. So these are some of the things where we are, exploiting new niches, new growth spots, either because of this COVID or in a nature, the way market itself is evolving. Well, these are some of my thoughts.
Thank you so much, sir. I think a lot of examples in terms of how product innovations are expanding the.
Just one
Yeah,
more
yeah.
point. Just one more point. Thanks to AstraZeneca, in partnership with Serum Institute in Pune, their COVID vaccine, which can be in the normal temperatures 2 to 8 degrees centigrade, instead of what you have Pfizer, which is -60 to -70 ultra cold storage, but this is a normal cold storage. Now this cold storage industry and will lead to a lot of consumption of steel, because color coated steel is used in this. Now I'm told the Serum Institute is going to have 1 million COVID dosages by end of January, and about 4 million dosages by end of April. Now, having said that, this is a golden opportunity for steel industry, more so for coated steel. So again, COVID can be dangerous, but then it also gives market opportunities for us.
Yeah, thank you, sir. I think, yeah. I mean, very interesting in terms of how companies are coming up with product innovations, which in essence, is expanding the market itself, and and also, these products are more value adding, and I'm sure it must be more profitable line of business. Yeah, thank you so much. A request to all the participants of the webinar: if you have any questions, kindly type in the chat box. We will be able to pick it up. So you may address it to anyone, or if it's a general question, you can also leave it without any name of the panelist. Meanwhile, let me go back to Mr. Akshay Gujral. Sir, you have wide experience in terms of having operated in international markets. There are economies, advanced economies, which are there where possibly digitization has been a step ahead than us. From your experience in international markets, where do you see the current India market at, and what are the possible things which you think we can pick up and then be able to implement here?
In terms of a lot of international market, the adoption of the digital technology started a couple of years ahead. But to give benefit of the doubt, in India also, as one of our colleagues and panelists, Mr. Anand, was talking about, digitalization, or the inception of the digital started about 5-7 years back, even here. So from that point of view, I would say from the mills point of view, the digital strategies that all the mills, including ex-SR, started were about 5, 7, 8 years back. And this is the similar time frame in which the digital strategies started across the world also. However, the readiness by the customers was probably slightly better or higher in terms of acceptability in Europe, in probably Latin America, in the Americas, and now what we see in terms of China. Just to throw some statistics, in China, on the billion tons that they consume, about 100 million tons is sold on the digital platforms. Though when you dig deeper, it's not a pure digital platform, but the transactions are happening digitally. Their aim is to go to 25%. So this is the government of China, which has given the aim at 25% of the transactions routed through digital platforms. And they have, then brought in a lot of tools to help that. When we look at, Europe, a lot of distribution has gone digital. So that means, even though you might have a physical distributor, you also have a digital arm, which caters to all the SMEs or the MSMEs. So the digital platform is capable of, selling 1 ton to 5 tons to 10 tons, any small lot. This is also the case with the ArcelorMittal distribution. We have a digital platform which we are catering to in terms of the number of orders, per month, which are phenomenal, but the volumes are limited because we are catering to the smaller customer zones. Then with some of the larger OEMs and the big, car producers and, the large companies, there is also the EDI, electronic data interchange, which means that most of the orders are, punched into the system, and this is directly coming into the mills. They are automatically processing. A purchase order is released through the system. So everything happens digitally. So it's a seamless digital activity. And then also, the readiness goes through the system, the material readiness, the requirements, the just-in-time, the deliveries. Then again, moving to some of the solutions that are on the logistics, there are some wonderful solutions that are available in Europe, which I have seen, and we also implemented one of them in a plant that I was working in. So these solutions for logistics are wonderful from the point of view of as soon as you receive an order, you feed into the system. The system throws out a tentative date for the material readiness, and closer to the material readiness, the system throws out a fixed date that this material will be ready for these destinations. The system automatically triggers the auctions on the transportation platform, wherein all the transporters who are registered come in and they bid for the transportation. And as soon as they bid, they get a slot, a 2-hour slot in terms of when to enter the plant. So in Europe, most plants don't have the luxury to park 50, 100, 200 trucks. So you have a limited window of 2 hours for the truck to come in. And if the truck doesn't come in this window, he has to go ahead to another slot, and then he misses the slot. So the truck turnaround time, when I was in Bosnia and I implemented this solution, we started with the 8 to 10 hours truck turnaround time, and we reduced it to almost 3 hours. So the truck drivers come in on time, they go out on time, they save their money, we reduce the cost of logistics. So there has been a lot of technology that is being used, including sales. I will just give you an example of one of the initiatives that we have, which is there in ArcelorMittal for the last 7, 8, 10 years. It's called Stelligence. So if you go to Stelligence, you can find solutions to everything in terms of steel sales, in terms of solutions for selling steel, in terms of if you want to have a solution for a bridge, you can go in. We will collaborate and give you whatever is required for that length of the bridge, whatever steel can come in, and you can buy a bundle or you can buy a package from ArcelorMittal. Similarly, we have a lot of architectural solutions on Stelligence where you say, okay, I want to construct a building. We will give you a full-fledged solution in steel rather than in cement and rebar. So we will give you a solution for that. In fact, the new office or the head office of ArcelorMittal will be built fully in steel and glass. So we have a lot of solution selling that is coming in. Also, in terms of the envelope solution, which is the roofing and the cladding, a lot of solution is coming in terms of saying, okay, you let me know which roof you want or how much square feet you want. I will give you 3, 4, 5 solutions. So you do not need to go to a foaming line to get the roof foam. You do not need to get the floor decking line. So everything I will do for you in terms of a solution, and I will come and give you a package to install it. Also on the material side, what is happening in Europe is that the manpower is very, very, very expensive. So the markets have progressed towards not only buying a commodity, but to buy a solution. Today, depending on the progress or a development of an economy, for example, in Nordics, you will not find any rebar sales. Everything that is sold is rebar in coil. And all the buyers are purchasing only cut and bend or even the rebars in the pillar forms wherever required. So there has been a lot of change in terms of the services that the distribution or the steel companies provide to the customer, and customers would like to get a final solution rather than buy the plate, cut the plate, fabricate the plate. So you have all these solutions coming in. Digitalization is helping in these solutions to a certain extent. But let me say, we have still to reach in terms of the exponential growth, even in these developing economies. Another good system that I saw across in Latin America is once you go to a distributor, you peg in the order to a distributor. The invoicing is done directly by the mill, and the mill has a full control as to what is going where, how the distribution is happening, how the customer is ordering, what is his order tracks. So a lot of the international companies have a lot of data, and the future would be in dynamic pricing. So today you call up somebody, he checks the price. You go to our European distribution, and you will find that the price is coming out automatically out of the system. So you are actually cutting out a lot of human interaction or the scope for error and replacing it with technology. Though I will still say the human element will continue in the steel world, because this is quite a steel is not sold traditionally the way without interaction. So that would continue with a large organization or a large OEM to OEM. So that cozy relationship or the warmth in the relationship that we maintain across definitely will continue to be the strength. But digitalization will definitely make its own way, like it has done in some of the other industries like the aviation industry, like the banking industry, as I told about. Also, Sridhar mentioned about the solar power. I was just reading, I don't know how true is it. It is said that the renewable energy generation of electricity in the next 10 years will surpass the installed capacity of the thermal electricity. So whatever has taken place in 100 years will be surpassed in the next 10 years. So this is the state of implementation of a technology. It's a one-way street.
Thank you, Mr. Gujral. My one last question from my side before we move to the questions from the audience. This is addressed to Mr. MC Agarwal. Sir, while we talked about a lot of digitization plans of various steel companies, are we as a steel industry, ready to accept the digital model right now? I'm sure while we have plans to go digital, we want to sell, steel online. Are the supply chains ready? Are the logistics ready? If you can, kindly, tell us about it in terms of your experience or understanding of the market. Because end of the day, it is not just putting your products online. I mean, the entire supply chain needs to be ready to be able to give that experience to the customer. Sir, you may have to unmute yourself. We're not able to hear you.
Okay, yes, it's not unmuted. Yeah, thank you. You said rightly, because steel industry has been a very, I'll say it is not a very sophisticated industry, but it has to be always a heavy industry. So people used to be habitual of now no digitization. One has to be, I remember, for a lighter side. In my case, people has to go to the office, get his check deposited, then get his delivery order made, go to the stockyard, take the delivery himself. That used to be a practice. But instead of talking for a very absolute digitization, if I talk in a short term, now today, nobody's like to visit any of the places, offices. They will like to send the money through a digital mode. They will like to get their offers, etc., confirmation, etc., on digital mode. And then finally, even the picking up the material from the places also, they would like to go digital, means now it is a door delivery, you start delivering goods. So virtually for him, in case I talk for my customer now, because ultimately we are talking for the steel sales only. If I talk my customer, for him, he need not to move out from his room. For everything is available to him. His offers, his discussions, his finalization, his payments, and then finally his deliveries to his site. Definitely on site, somebody has to unload, that's a different case. So digitization is definitely has been accepted by industry in total. Merely, I will not say that the same digitization can happen in the steel industry so fast, which might be happening in other countries. Like other sophisticated industries like telecom, if we talk for household goods, etc., their things are much faster. But steel industry today, I tell you, people are not interested to go anywhere. They would like to deal only from their own places. So that I'll say it's a big revolution, and this revolution rather in the steel industry, and people have accepted this digitization. Even as I already mentioned in my earlier discussion, this basically even the meetings. Now nobody would like to go and visit. They would like to have visits on the phone, on the e-platform. That is now how we are talking right now. So it is a well accepted methodology now. As one thing more I mentioned in my earlier discussion, I'll repeat it for the purpose of digitization only. The paper used to be moved like anything. Now papers are hardly moving. It is only in a system, e-proposals, e-everything approvals, everything, and things are taken care of. So it's all digitization. Only thing is which problem which we are facing now in the steel industry in India, as it was mentioned by Mr. Gujral also, and it is we like to take a clue from him, and that can be, in case that can be implemented in India, and then we start working on that. Basically, the logistic part. Once that material is ready to deliver, and then immediately the message is going to some of the transporters, and they know okay, now this material is ready, and they start bidding. I think this is something which we have to think of in India now. In case we start thinking in that line, then I think this can also be go digitization. And this is the only weak chain now today, which I am finding in the steel industry, particularly in India, that logistic part, final delivery part, this is still not digitized. So this can be digitized. Otherwise, balancing more or less, I think this is moving in that direction, and people have well accepted. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I think logistics, like you rightly said, is the key to the the experience, customer experience. We have a lot of questions from the audience. Maybe we'll take 2 or 3. I think we are already past our scheduled time. If I have your permission, sir, we may take this for another 5 more minutes. Should we extend the session by another 5 minutes? Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
I think the question from Mr. Prashant, this is to Mr. Akshay Gujral. Is digital platform only be the solution to connect MSMEs, or it should be supported by retail stores available near the user markets?
I think a very interesting question. Again, whether it is digital or whether it is physical, you need to see what the customer wants. So again, it's not a question of what the mill wants or what the seller wants to do. It's what the customer is comfortable to transit. So I think in the transition, more or less, it will be a phygital model. So we work, as I also see, the model will remain, phygital and not 100% digital in the steel in the transition phase, and slowly it will move towards a digital model. So I think even we need to also understand what digitalization does. Digitalization is basically facilitating the interactions and the transaction between two organizations. But what is moving from point A to point B is physical. So if you are doing a digital and you are saying I continue the same inefficiency of a physical model wherein I give you an order today, you do an order and you have nobody to speak to, and I come back to you after 30 days to tell you what happens, it doesn't work that way. So your efficiency has to be improved in terms of digital and in terms of physical. What digital is helping us to do is it is also pushing the increase in efficiency, because when you put up a digital model, you are actually putting up a magnifying glass on top of a glass house. So any goof up or any screw up that you have in your supply chain gets exemplified. So everybody sees. So I think the answer lies somewhere in between, where you have the material allocation, pricing, order booking done on a digital platform, but you also the deliveries from a retail platform which are closer to the MSMEs. Because our MSME will not it doesn't have a working capital to pay you for 30 days and wait. So the digital comes together with saying a fast moving model. What is digitalization? It is the speed. Think bold, think fast, and change the way you change. So digital is pushing you to think and do everything much, much faster, and it has to be supported by a physical model. So I think the answer lies somewhere in between for the MSMEs, a digital front end, but backed up by stocks in different locations in terms of fast deliveries.
Thank you, sir. I think the next question, most of the questions are on material availability and things like that. I think those are very specific questions. I don't think there could be a general answer to it. Maybe we may address them separately. Yeah, I mean, any one of you can take up. Is there a availability issue in the market, in certain specific markets? Mr. Agarwal, I mean, if you can, there are discussions in terms of happening in terms of, is availability of material in certain states and things like that. Would you want to take that question, or is it a very specific question?
Yes, I can answer slightly, not very specific, but general for a general knowledge of everybody who is participant in that. Availability is something which is created. Now, if you see, earlier what used to happen, if I talk before the pandemic and maybe last year, before last year, steel generally availability was more than what used to be consumed in the country. And everywhere, whenever you need material, you go anywhere and it is available off the shelf, you need not to wait for it. Only the change which has come in this period, as I say already, production has also got, and availability at the consumption has started increasing, because the gap which is created during the month of April and May, because there was no consumption and hardly everything was halted. So ultimately, everything has to come up now, because nothing can be stopped. People are trying to make up that period, how to make it. So people have started materials. Definitely, the demand has started going up in that line. Production has not gone to that level. So even today, availability is not issue. Issue is only when you want immediate. But if you can plan out your production for a few days and maybe months and 15 days, we have a planning. So as such, availability as far as sale is concerned, we don't have any availability issues as such. However, the regular consumers, they are getting even today. And this is a situation I can tell on behalf of even my other counter producers, including Tata and JSW, because we are interacting also. As such, availability is an issue. Only thing is, of the cell, it is not available, may not be available. I will not say not available, but end product may not be available. So you have to plan your production also. So it's only
I will also like to answer on this.
Yeah.
See, demand across certain products is outstrip the supply. For example, in cold roll coils, because thanks to this tractors and auto booming, so here you have a peculiar situation where cold roll prices could be higher than galvanized prices. So there in certain products there is a supply issue vis-a-vis demand. Demand has outstripped supply in certain areas. So this phenomena is there.
Thank you. I think we are past 10 minutes past our scheduled time. A very interesting discussion. Thank you to all the panelists and the participants. I then hand over to Mr. Verma if he has any closing thoughts, and then we can conclude this.
My only comment is that possibly we budgeted too short a time for such an interesting discussion, but been very useful. We heard the movement towards more automation as far as manufacturing of steel is concerned. We heard Mr. Sridhar talk about new opportunities as far as steel consumption and demand is concerned. Very interesting. Some of them were new. Many of them were new for me. And we had 3 people, from sales and marketing functions. So, expectedly that, this Tambaroon event, as Mr. Gujral, put it, is going to be a watershed event in terms of, now steel companies designing their interaction around customer convenience. And it is not only, the order booking, but the entire fulfillment process, each step, each interaction, there's a need to digitize that. And from investing so far in the product, as Mr. Anand put it, there is a great amount of ROI in terms of investing in the services around the product. So I think with these words, we will bring this webinar to a close. Thank you, each of you for sparing your valuable time and sharing your valuable insights with all of us. We had more than 215 people at some point of time who were logged in for the session. So my thanks to all of you once again for participating in this webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.